We've had the Avengers, the Justice League, past and present X-Men crossovers, whatever cinematic universe meetups that are possible. But the realm of multiple universes, there's still more to do. It's gonna confuse people, but hopefully it'll be fun. The specific example I'm thinking of is pertaining to Spider-Man, who at this point has had a subsequent movie reboot, 10 years after a Raimi version. They've had their highs and lows, with most people defaulting to Tobey, or the one in the MCU. But there's a potential to make these different Spider-Men not seem so random. The ultimate Spider-Man crossover.
I'm the real Spider-Man.
I don't know what kind of mind game this is, but I'm the real Spider-Man. The real Peter Parker. Guess again. See? Pete, old buddy? We're just as genuine as you are.
Now as for how it'll work, here's the setup. But first, why specifically Spider-Man? For example, there's Batman, who's had even more live-action interpretation. The thing is, Adam West is dead. Christian Bale's Batman was from a more grounded universe. The Burton Schumacher version didn't even have a consistent guy, though we know Michael Keaton would be the one to go with. And Ben? Well, we'll see how he feels about this in a couple years. With Spider-Man, they all at least had consistent-ish universes. Tom Holland's hopeful, Andrew looks game. And Tobey, he's been out of the mainstream scene for a while, though I'll just assume there's room for a comeback. He's always been a trooper when playing the web slinger, even when his back was bad. Also, Spider-Man's been known for having multiple universe crossovers in video games and comics, also corresponding well with the amount of reboots he's had. Now, getting beyond the puzzle pieces, let's put them together with a catalyst. Obviously, there should be a reason they should get together, one that's not too forced and hopefully not too exposition-y. A reason to specifically require multiple universe Spider-Man. Let's have a villain. He's planning to threaten multiple universes. He's obviously gotta be a magic guy. So, no one better than Mysterio. In the comics, he's known for being some theater technician, and we could incorporate that into his origin. But for here, let's amp him up. Now, secondly, why do we specifically need Spider-Man? The answer lies in wavelength stuff. In the show Rick and Morty, they explained the reason why Ricks need Mortys is because of this reason.
Very distinctive and traceable brainwave due to our genius. The best way to hide from an enemy's radar is to stand near someone with complementary brainwaves that make ours invisible. See, when a Rick is with a Morty, the genius waves get canceled out by the, Morty waves.
Apply the same concept here, where it's shown only Spider-Man, or Spider-Men, could hurt Mysterio. Here's the setup. We have Mysterio stealing some artifact thing, and some Avengers people show up. Don't need to worry about the whole team, just some members, mainly some particularly powerful people, like Doctor Strange or Thor. They all fight this Mysterio, throwing everything they have, but nothing is seeming to work. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is nearby. He decides to give a few swings. He's actually able to hurt Mysterio, the only one who has an effect on him. Mysterio is able to ward off Tom's Spider-Man enough, and then leaves. The Avengers looked amazed, wondering how Spider-Man did it. Doctor Strange then brings Spider-Man to his personal office, examining this discovery. He learns the whole wavelength thing, and concurs that while Tom's Spider-Man is the only one who could hurt Mysterio from this world, he's gonna need more like him to stop the bastard. Then he utilizes the help of someone else who could track these Spider-Men, Madam Web. She shows Spider-Man the other universes where he could find more helpers for Tom's Spider-Man to go and recruit. Next is how the other Spider-Men are. First, Tobey the veteran. He'll obviously be the oldest of the Spider-Men, and let's assume at this point he's retired, much like he is in the version of Spider-Man Reign. Except, let's not make him all broody and depressed, or in this story's specific case, have radioactive semen. We've had enough of those stories, and it gets tiring. Let's just assume it was a mutual decision, where there weren't any superhero people to pop up and fight, and he simply decides to just be a teacher, help society in that way. He's also now married with Mary Jane, or if Kirsten Dunst's not on boat, well, let's just assume Felicia Hardy then. It's a pairing a lot of Spider-Man fans want. We could even allude to her backstory as the Black Cat, or Vultress, or maybe not that one. Anyway, Tom shows up and mentions the threat. Tobey thinks this is a bit ridiculous, feeling a bit worried to leave his current family, but then decides, you know what, I kind of liked being Spider-Man. Then there's the stepchild Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. I'm kind of tempted to take this to a cruel place. Feels somewhat bad because I know how passionate Andrew was when he initially joined.
Can I say one thing? I think this might be the most incredible day of my life, and I've always wanted to be at Comic-Con in Hall H as Spider-Man with all of you guys. It's always been a dream of mine.
All right.
So thanks for having me.
But you know what? Let's do this. Clone Saga. The basis of the story is that the initial Spider-Man, in this case Andrews, learns that he was a clone, while this other guy, Ben Reilly, was the real Spider-Man. Other confusion happens. I never read a story, it's just, I know the premise. It was just a place where Marvel thought they could revamp the status quo, but didn't, because this is asking too many questions. So much so that this is often a joke.
He discovered that, according to our genetic structures, it might be Peter who was the clone, not me. That news pushed Peter Parker over the edge. Now he hated me with a passion. This is starting to sound like a bad comic book plot. It gets worse.
And here would be no exception. I'm envisioning Andrew Garfield playing two parts. One being the Ben Reilly one, who is still played by Andrew playing a good performance, only with blonde hair, fighting some of Harry's creations while seemingly have no point, while the former Andrew Spider-Man has now turned, being a villain working with Harry, maybe even symbiote up. Anyway, Toby and Tom confront him, proposing he joins the team. He is reluctant due to mistrust in his life, but he eventually joins when he learns evil Spider-Man is evolved somehow. Now, we could probably include one more or two Spider-Men, so it doesn't just seem like a reunion of the movie versions. Maybe utilize the 2099 version, or Spider-Man Noir. Maybe utilize some notable voice actors, like C.B. Barnes, Josh Keaton, and Nope. Maybe give Donald Glover a swing. Maybe have an inside joke with Tom being confused about that. Now, while Tom is universe jumping with Spider-Man, they could have an early encounter with Mysterio, where they witness him recruiting people, like evil Andrew Spider-Man. Now, around this time, we have a sort of reveal where the team starts distrusting each other. One where they learn of evil Andrew and question good Andrew's intentions, and another where they learn that Mysterio is Bruce Campbell. Some context. In the Raimi movies, there was a recurring joke with each movie that Bruce Campbell is playing a different character, and the inside joke is maybe he's Mysterio. Like, wouldn't it be something if he was revealed to be Mysterio? Now, the way I see tying it now, well, as Toby Peters retired, let's let him have a friend at school. A new character Bruce Campbell is playing, like a janitor or a drama teacher. Anyway, cutting to now, Toby Peters shot. Ian questions how this is even possible. Anyway, they all question their place, and then they all conjoin once they see Mysterio setting his plan in motion. What's it being? Well, a MacGuffin to take over the multiverse. Now, as for the MacGuffin, the one other special shapeshifter, Stan Lee. Yes, he kidnaps Stan Lee, hooks him up from the Thing from the first X-Men movie, and uses it to take over the multiverse. It is up to a quickly assembled Spider-Man team to fight him off. They defeat Mysterio's henchmen, including Evil Andrew, and then they all work together to take on Mysterio. Hits flying. At one point they seem to have the upper hand. Then, Mysterio does a super hit, which hits all the Spider-Men back to their respective dimensions. They all be confused trying to know what happened. Meanwhile, a Mysterio in each dimension takes a punch, and when one Spider-Man gets punched, they all fly. All hope seems lost. Then Madam Web helps give a link between them, telling them to concentrate and sync themselves up. Then they all start moving in unison, acting as one. They find the Mysterios within the dimensions also have the same effect, so they all lunge at him with their arms sprawled out, hitting him with everything they got, all eventually defeating him. Also, maybe one of the Spider-Men end up sacrificing themselves? I guess pick. Anyway, they eventually free Stan Lee, and they have a bit of a talk about their existence and whatnot. Soon they all return for a universe, all happily. So this is my pitch for what probably is a bad idea, but it just seems like the next logical conclusion. And hey, there's probably a lot of potential if you have the right people involved. Whatever characters or interactions would you have? J.K. Simmons, the Crane Dad crew, your choice.
This way to